Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Live at 9:45. Although it's going to be not so live, we are currently previously recording this week's episode due to Valentine's Day and the fact that it's kind of one of those days you're supposed to spend with your spouse, and I'm planning on doing that. I have with me tonight Ed Pacola, and so this episode may feel a little different, may look a little different, may be a little bit different. However, the root of all of it is going to be the same. And even though it is not live, feel free to chat away in the comments. I'm going to try and submit this video as kind of like a watch party kind of thing where I should be around a little bit, if not most of the time, to kind of comment or whatever with people who are watching it. So by all means, get in there, comment away as the video plays, as you're watching it, and enjoy yourselves and have a good time. Before I fire things up, please remember to keep the comments PG. I genuinely appreciate that each and every time. I also appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in on a weekly basis, and I'm going to continue with more live feeds as time goes on. But you're going to see some of these throughout this year as well, for time's sake and the fact that I can't always be available every Thursday at 9:45. And some of my guests also can't be available on that day at that time either. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to move things over and bring Ed on to the show. Just after I make an adjustment here, and welcome, Ed.
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Oh, not too bad.
All right, so let's do this thing where we kind of kick it off, and I say, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right, sounds good. My name's Ed Pacola. I live in Lisbon, Ohio. Been here for since 2013. I was in the military prior in the Army. Grew up in Wyoming and moved to Ohio. And this is where my wife is from, so it's where all her family is. And yeah, so that's a little snippet, I guess.
All right. So how long have you been in the RC hobby in general?
Pretty much all my life. Started pretty much when I was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. I remember going into the Radio Shack store with my dad. Growing up in Wyoming, really didn't have hobby shops or anything like that. So, kind of sparse out there. But we'd go into a Radio Shack, and I remember they always have around Christmas time, they'd have the RC, trucks and stuff setting out. And I always wanted one, so it was always on my Christmas list to get one of those Radio Shack trucks,
Yeah, absolutely. So what or who kind of got you started in the hobby in general, man?
So, playing back to the Radio Shack things, I was kind of toy grade right there, but I remember going to family reunions and had a couple cousins that, almost every reunion they'd be out in the gravel buzzing around with, I don't know what it was, in a Slash or, some go fast truck. And I was like, hey man, let me try it out. And, I'm the little young cousin. They don't want to break their stuff, so that kind of sparked an interest in getting my own and, kind of going in on that. So yeah, that's where it began.
Awesome. So the interest got sparked. You were kind of excited about it, and boom, You got your first truck. What'd you get? Car, truck. I guess I didn't know it was a truck. So
right, well, I mean, pretty close. I was thinking about this earlier, and there was a couple, and I don't know which one came first. I'm almost positive it was a Tamiya lunchbox, and it came from that cousin. He had sitting around, and maybe felt bad for me or whatever. But it's either that or the Bruiser.
Okay.
Or no, not a Bruiser, is the Mountaineer. Pretty much a Bruiser, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was either one of those, and I'm having a hard time remembering which one it was, but it was somewhere around there, and I remember, breaking it, taking it to my grandpa, and it was in his garage more times than it wasn't, trying to get it fixed.
I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. So to me, at least, kind of amazing that people that got in at that stage of the hobby when you were the older plastics and things where they broke a whole lot more frequently than they currently do now. How many people retained that true passion and love for it? Because A, they were expensive, and B, they broke a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And now, like, things are definitely more durable than they. They're still expensive. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but
Definitely.
the
Yeah.
other thing I was gonna say is, dude, that lunchbox. So forever, I've had my eye on like a couple of crazy ideas. Box. I always see them and then like sale, and they're not very expensive. I never pull the trigger because every idea I have is like.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be cool to recreate, like a lunchbox or a cloudbuster even. I've had ideas of doing like a blazer body converted to like a cloudbuster style, new age, I guess, cloudbuster,
Yeah.
new parts and new body, and it just kind of, I don't know, pay homage to it, but I don't know if I can bring myself to it.
Yeah, it's like every time I go to look at a project like that, I'm always, well, man, I got like these other things I should be doing that are very
Yeah,
much related to what I'm actually doing right now in the hobby. I should probably do one of those.
right. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
all right. So, if you weren't into RC as a hobby, what do you think your hobby of choice would be?
There's other things to do. I didn't know that. No, I don't know. I'd probably into one-to-ones maybe. I was pretty big into that before, getting into RC. It just kind of got too expensive, and happy wife, happy life,
There you
kind
go.
of thing. Is and then yeah, so it'd be hot rods or off-road trucks or something around that realm.
Yeah. What did you have when you were doing the one-to-one stuff before you got into the RC stuff as heavy?
Oh geez, the list goes on. But one one of my favorites, I had a 63 F100, and it's on my Facebook profile page. I bought it from a guy in Kansas, and I paid like $1,900 for it. It was 3 on the tree, 6-cylinder. Thing was cool, flat black. And I took that and definitely pulled the engine out and pulled the transmission, put a 302 into it, and it was a fun truck to have. But it was one of my favorite ones. But sold it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So no, that's awesome. That's a little tidbit that I honestly I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to take a quick break to say a couple more things to our viewers that are going to be watching this here. And first off, I'm going to say the thing I always forget to say. If you're not currently subscribed to my channel, subscribe it, hit that bell so that you get notifications every time I go live or anytime that I post up an event for an upcoming live feed. That way you're in the loop, you're in the know, and you know what's coming in the future. Additionally, I'm going to try and kick some questions to you guys, and feel free to answer them no matter when you watch this, because I always go back through and talk to type to the comments in the comments section. I don't ever leave any of them uncommented on as of yet. So I'm going to ask this of you, Ed, but also the people out there in viewer land over on YouTube. Uh, are you a big tire fan or a small tire fan, and what is the reasoning behind it? One of my favorite questions to ask. I get a lot of the similar answer, but not always quite the same.
Right. So for me, I'm a small tire guy, but within reason. So if the build calls for a bigger tire, then I'm going to get a bigger tire. Like, I don't know, most of my builds, as you see, are all small tire, sub 4 builds. But I do have some builds that are, I don't know, 5, 6. But no, I'm mostly a small tire guy, and it all depends on the build. I mean, it depends on what look you're going for and what theme, and it's for me, small tires is win.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So that leads right into the next one, which is brushed or brushless, and we get to start talking about some of that other more fun stuff.
Yeah. uh, I've always done brushed, just because I don't really have the knowledge for brushless yet, I guess, because I've never really dove too deep into it.
Fair enough.
But for what I use, brushed, and I'm happy with it. So why change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's a great way to
Right.
live, man. What do you like most about the RC hobby general?
All right, so this is going to be a kind of a long answer for me. I was in the military, and a lot of guys out there that watch this probably were in the military too, and they can kind of relate with this. So when I got out, there was kind of like a void, and I needed to fill that void. So got into RC, got into the crawler scene, and the skill side of it, and then started noticing, I could talk to people about this, and
Yeah.
really connect with people. And for me, what I like most about it is the camaraderie and the connection with people. That it has nothing to do with the RC. It's just having like the common ground with everybody around us. That's what I like most about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, right on. I'd say that is probably the piece of the hobby that grows the most on me every time
Oh
I
yeah,
go out. So when I started, it was like learning how to make it all work, and then it was I'm gonna beat everybody at everything, and then it's I'm gonna build something really cool, and now it's like I just want to go talk to everybody.
yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. I could go to a comp and not even compete and still have a great time.
yeah, yeah, and I can say that now, and I never ever in my entire life thought I would have ever said. So. All
Hmm.
right. Let's move on to a little bit about East Coast Scale Challenge. So you and Matt, and you can speak about Matt as well in here, but you and Matt are kind of continuing this phenomenon called the East Coast Scale Challenge.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the story behind ECSC, like where it started, what's going on there, and kind of where you guys came in and what's going on?
Okay. So John, way back in the day, he wanted some, a place for people to come around, be able to comp at a national level,
Hmm.
and a lot of and be able to bring in a lot of new guys, and a lot of people that have never comped before, and kind of make them feel comfortable and at home. So naturally, he's going to go to Rose Point, where I think he's spent quite a bit of time there, camping and doing his thing, and he wanted to bring it there because it's family friendly, great environment, great people, the terrain is awesome. So I think that's where that kind of sparked for him, is to bring people into the hobby and bring people into the comp scene at a bigger level than what they were used to.
Yeah.
And also, be able to enjoy a weekend and with family and friends and whatnot. So that's where I think this whole thing sparked from. For us, let's see, after John got sick and he had his heart attack and all that jazz, um, I think he realized that it was going to be a little bit more than he could handle, or more that he wanted to handle at that point in his life.
Yeah.
Health first, family first, stuff like that. So he came to Matt and I, and he had been seeing, following us around, and seeing what we do with Mahoning County crawlers and the
Hmm.
events that we had. And so he came up to us. Well, I want to say it was right after ECSE. What year? 2016, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I think I'm right. Correct. So he
Think
came up to
so.
us, and yeah, and he approached us about it. I was actually driving truck over the road, and he called me and called Matt. He's like, "Hey, I got something for you guys. I really need to talk to you both." And we're like, "Okay," And he offered, he said, "Hey, I have confidence, both of you, to be able to take over this event. Would you do it?" And without a question, it was a yes.
Hmm.
It's something like that, to take it over. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do it. So we took it nervous, definitely nervous about it, and that's the beginning of the story, I guess. We still got years and years to go. So
Right on, man. So you guys have been doing it now for 2 years.
right,
Well, you've done it for 2 years. This is year number 3. What is some
right.
of the stuff that like you've learned over those 2 years? I mean, you and I personally have had a lot of conversations about stuff like this, but like, what are the things you're taking away from all the stuff you've got going on?
Um, don't sweat small things. We can only do so much, and we the first year was kind of, thankfully we had John by our side
Yeah.
kind of comfort us a little bit, I guess, through it. But we've learned just to, do the event that we want to do and that we know that you guys want to happen, regardless of everything that is said and people get uptight about rules and this and that. We just don't sweat it anymore. We know we're gonna provide for you guys and have a great event. So yeah, we just move on.
Yeah. Well, and you also know that a lot of the like pre-advertising for it and the talk about it goes on over the winter, which is like cabin fever
Yeah,
time of year, massive rule discussion time of year. Everybody gets very hung up on, I guess is the best word I can use, on rules this time of year, and a lot of discussion happens, and I think it's because A, everybody's cooped up and not running their truck, but B, like
right.
it's time to reflect on how the summer went and what can come for next year. And so I see positives and negatives in that mentality that happens in our community as well.
Oh,
Um
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So over the years the East Coast Scale Challenge has been going on. How would you say it has kind of changed? And so I'm going to ask that question not only to you but anybody that's viewing, like if you attend ECSC, how would you say it's? I guess maybe that's an evil one to put out there for comment
Yeah,
questions.
I know that might hurt. I don't know if I want to read the comments now.
Hey! I only get like 5 comments, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it's gotten better. I think we're continuing on what John handed us,
Hmm.
and I mean, we're adding our little things in there that we wanted to do, and we
Yeah,
think everybody else would enjoy. And we're just growing on it. It's
I would say from an outsider perspective looking in, and someone who's attended it, you guys have made an attempt to adapt with the times. You're sensing what's going on inside of our scale community. You're looking at all of that. The two of you are very highly involved in extremely detail oriented builds. Everything that the both of you put out, you and Matt both, is very,
right,
very detail oriented, very scale, uh, just so much attention is paid.
right,
So for you to lean in a little bit in that direction would be natural. And then just as a whole, you're kind of paying attention to what's going on, and so trying to make changes in
right.
that light as well. So
Oh
that's what
yeah,
I
for sure.
see.
We we see it growing, like the Class Zero thing. That's a prime example right there. I was kind of on the ledge about bringing it in, but I was like, you know what? If it goes over well, it goes over well. If it doesn't, then we won't bring it back. And man, I'm telling you, I think Class Zero is it's personally one of my favorites, and I know there's a lot of guys out there that I've seen guys this year just buy Class Zero tickets.
Yeah.
And so I mean that tells me right there we're moving in the right direction.
Well, the thing I like about Class Zero is it allows you to take that thing that you built that you're super proud of and you
Oh yeah,
feel like sick to your stomach over if you ever scratch it and actually drive it.
right,
When I first built the Tri-Van, I built it specifically to compete in Class 1.
right.
Like that was the goal of the Tri-Van, but that was when I built it, Class Zero didn't exist. And so if I was going back to that and starting all over again, I would have built it to be a Class Zero type truck, and I would have probably never put the hurting on it that it's received,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
because I built it to drive it. So that's what I.
Yeah, and that's kind of the goal on that. I wanted something where the guys that like part of my noob and Matt Kett and all them guys, they come down. I want to see their trucks on trail. I see them
Yeah,
in videos and they're cool in the videos, but I want to see them actually on a trail, going through. And that to me was kind of the big push there, to not so much cater to them guys, but cater to the builds out there that, deserve that kind of competition, that kind of highlight.
right on.
So,
Okay, so one of my favorite builds out there ever is the half track, and
oh yeah,
it's not even a reasonable truck to drive. Like, let me
right,
just say that. I watched it run. It ran in Class Zero, and in Class One, it wouldn't even have been like it wouldn't have been fun. It wouldn't have been enjoyable. But in that class, it was awesome to watch. There was Matt Brower had like this big, super top heavy
Yeah.
ambulance there.
Yeah.
And that was amazing to watch on those courses because it would not have worked in any other class. So it's just you get to see stuff you wouldn't usually get to see.
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Yep. And it's out of the realm, and I enjoy it. It's my personal favorite. So
Yeah. What new additions should we expect to see this year at East Coast?
well, obviously the D90 challenge. Pretty much, I don't know if anybody knows. Well, I know a couple people know, kind of follow it. The Camel Trophy. It was like a Land Rover kind of expedition challenge. Big in the 80s and 90s and whatnot. So I thought it'd be cool to, and I've always wanted to do this. And prior to even the ECSC, John and I had talked about, running an all D90, all Camel Trophy challenge here, and seeing how many people we get to do it, because it'd just be cool to see 30 D90s on the trail,
Yeah.
So given the opportunity to be able to, say, hey, this is what's going to happen this year,
Yeah.
that I was like, yeah, let's try it out. And I posted the rules, and people just went with it. Within 24 hours, I think I had over 175 comments on it,
Oh yeah, I was in that thread. I was making some comments.
And it was all positive. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No negativity. I have no negativity or ill will toward it whatsoever.
Right. So yeah, that's one new thing. Besides that, I mean, we're just going to change things up, trails up. The Roads Point Challenge. We're going to throw a couple little different things in there this year to kind of keep it fresh and keep it new. The TTC, we got kind of a different location for a couple events we're going to run through there. Yeah, I mean, we're going to try to keep it fresh. That's about it. And then the gallery, we're going to work on that a little bit more, kind of give more recognition to, the class 0 builds, and kind of segregate things a little bit, and, give recognition where it's due at,
All right. So without going into any of the questions that we've got coming up in the future, let's do a little show and tell session. 3 trucks back there.
Okay.
Show us something and talk about it, man. I'm going to guarantee if anybody's been watching this long and still in here, they want to see what's back there.
Let's see which one. So we'll start with this guy right here.
There you go. All right. All eyes on you, man. Show it off.
So this is a K30 dually. The body was done by Scott Lampert, because originally I was going to do it, and I kind of got scared because of this line right here.
Yeah, that's an intimidating line.
Yeah, I mean, and he did a phenomenal job. I did the interior. I don't know if you can see all that. And then it's still a work in progress. Obviously need my hood hinges put on there. It's got a Cummins engine there from Exclusive. Working on, I talked to Dion, Mr. Comedy, a couple weeks ago, because I was going to make my own inner fender wells and all that good jazz, but I want something that is 100% looks apart, So I was like, contacted him, and he's already working on something cool for this. So we're for the Blazers and whatnot, but it's all adaptable. So something really cool. Everything don't fall apart here. I don't know if you can see the fuel tank right there. Okay, so I have 2 of those, and that's my battery. And
that's sweet.
Yep. And it's a magnet, so it just flops up right up underneath, hooks in, just like so. That's way.
Awesome.
Yep.
How well does that work? Like, I mean, it looks like you probably haven't driven that much, but have you tested that? Have you tested out that whole magnetic hold the battery in like on the trail? Does it work good for you? Do you know?
No. This hasn't seen dirt yet, but it will.
Yeah.
The magnets are actually theft door magnets off a semi, so they're super strong. They can
Okay.
lift. I don't know. They're crazy strong. Like they'll make your fingers bleed if you get them pinched in between it. So I'm pretty confident that nothing, no rocks or anything can scrape it off. And I'm really not going to take that on,
Right.
anything crazy. It's kind of purpose built right now. I'm working on a 36-inch long gooseneck trailer for it. So,
We,
yep.
I'm always envious of trailer builds. Every time I think about
Oh yeah.
doing one, I'm like, I'm gonna build this awesome trailer, and then I go, oh man, that's a lot of work. So then I
Right.
build another truck.
So right here, if I don't knock my garage down, is the new RC 4-wheel drive Toyota 4Runner,
Yeah.
and you know, looks pretty sweet, pretty detailed body. Interior is all done up. They did good on this,
I like the color
Magnets.
combo.
Yeah, and I was debating on doing this or not, and like at the last minute, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So these decals are actually water slide decals. So I don't know if you built models as a kid or whatnot. Um,
Um, I did some like when I was in college, but nothing crazy.
right, right. So those I made myself. You can get water slide decal paper and print it out. I actually stole these off of a t-shirt site for like Toyota t-shirts, vintage Toyota t-shirts, and I just
You
cropped it
you
in and made.
borrowed them.
Yeah,
Borrowed.
well, yeah, borrowed them. Sorry, YouTube. FBI kicking my door down here in a second. But
There you go.
no. So yeah, so I made those, made them water slide, and didn't know how well it was going to work, and I was like, yeah, you know what, why not try it? So I did it, and I think it turned out all right.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thanks.
Um,
So
which is awesome, by the way. Like, let's just talk about that whole process and how that works. You didn't have
yeah,
what you needed.
yeah,
You sought out somewhere, found it, manipulated it, came up with something that didn't exist for you. Although I'm pretty sure you can buy decals similar to that, but you did it all on your own. You didn't spend money.
yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be about, man. The ingenuity behind doing something like. Well done.
Oh, definitely. I mean, thanks. If you don't, especially this, because this was a pre-release, and there was really no following, and I couldn't go to like Crawler Concepts and be like, hey, I need some decals.
Right.
You want to, So I was kind of strung out and on my own on it, and I was like, you know what, I'm finally going to try it. I've had this paper and this stuff for a while, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it and just go for it. And besides putting some clear coat on it, I think, I'm pretty much done. So
Yeah. Awesome. So let's jump back to a little bit more about the ECSC stuff, and
okay.
um, I I noticed this year that when ticket sales went live, uh, made it a little longer than 2 minutes. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure there's a reason behind that, and I'm pretty sure I know the reason behind it. But um, can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Okay. So the 2 minute thing, we still broke a record there. If we're still on the same numbers as 2018, 2017, and beyond, we definitely would have sold out before anybody would have had a chance.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now. So I wanted to give an opportunity to the new guys, and going back to why John started this, and
Hmm.
the whole thing. So we know the guys that are going to get tickets, and we know everybody that's going to be there pretty much. So it's the same crowd. You have 10, 15 extra people in there, here and there.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it to more people than that. I wanted to bring this event because a lot of people, like John had said before, this is their first event. This is their first comp event.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that to them. And yeah, we definitely, I adjusted a few things, and we got a lot of new guys, which was very surprising. I was kind of on the edge about it, but we made it, and we're close to selling out right now. We're class 2 sold out, and class 1's on the verge,
Yeah.
and I'm not worried about it. That's not what it's about for me. I just
Well,
want to bring it
and
up.
even if it's not sold out in this moment, the reality of it is there's a long time till when the event comes, and I
Absolutely.
mean, you already said you've sold as many tickets as you have in previous years,
Oh
and
yeah.
then some. So,
Yep.
um, yeah. So
Yeah.
no,
And
it's just it's interesting to see the perspective behind why to do that. So like I know some people, like honestly, people who are in my local group who
yeah.
that was their first event that they went to because I am from PA. I'm like 2.5 hours from Newcastle, and there's at least I think 3 people that I can think of right off the top of my head that like that was their first time ever going to a rock crawler competition. They went there, they couldn't get a ticket other than like the Rose Point Challenge. Now they're
Right.
like super diehard and they're in it all the time. So
Oh yeah. Yep. And that's kind of why the Rose Point Challenge is there, is to get those guys that want to commit but are still kind of on the edge. So it brings them there and gives them a taste of it. So then next year they can they tell their buddies, hey, this event's going on. Let's get there. So
yeah.
and
No, go ahead.
oh, and I was just gonna say, last year we had a lot of that. I had people off, the street that were just camping there. I remember a guy, I can't remember his name. Him and his son came up to me and like, hey, we're camping here. We didn't even know this is going on. And his son had a crawler. He's like, can we join in? I'm like, yeah, here. I showed them to where the Rose Point Challenge Trail was, and man, they had a blast. So
Hmm.
that's what makes it worth it to me. And the whole bringing in new people, and that gets the word around.
Yeah, absolutely. So all us old folks who have been doing this for a while get to go hang out, and then the new people
Yeah,
come, and it's super cool to see it. And
absolutely.
there were a bunch of people last year. I remember standing in line, and then I judged for one of the class 2 courses. There were several people who were saying like 10 or 12 who were like, "This is my first comp," or
Yeah.
"I've
Oh yeah.
never been to anything like this," or I'm like, "Wow, you
Yeah.
guys got lucky."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. Especially last year, man. That was rough.
right, right.
But
Um,
and that's kind of where I based off. I looked at where the numbers were at, last year, and kind of I wanted to allow for more people like that to come in, even though I know some of these older guys in here that have been coming to this are probably like, oh, come on, new guys, But we're all community. We got to bring them in,
no,
show them the
I'm
right.
all about the new guy.
Yeah.
Bring them all in,
Oh yeah,
every one of
absolutely.
them, because
Yep.
the more our hobby grows, the better it gets. The more
Yeah.
minds we put in there, the more intuitive and innovative things happen. The more competition, but all of the manufacturers, it just keeps getting better.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So, what is the hard one, man? I didn't even realize I had this one in here. I forgot I wrote it. What is your favorite part about hosting East Coast Scale Challenge, or least favorite?
You're right. That was a hard one to answer. So, oh no, I just all
It's
right.
all
You still
good.
there?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
That was via.
No, actually, you could go up a little bit because I got you like right in the corner.
All right.
Turn your left.
Eh, my bad.
You're
Sorry,
good.
YouTube.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right.
Listen, we're not experts, people.
Yeah.
We don't even know what we're doing most of the time. We just click buttons and hope it works.
Right. All right. So back to the question. View is good. You can see the
Oh yeah,
awesomeness that
we're all right. We can still see the
John.
garage in there.
Yeah, Jonathan Baskins. Man, he killed it on this. I just big shout out to him. So. But anyhow, so favorite part about hosting ECSE, it's the people that after the event come up to you and are like, "Hey, that was killer. Did an awesome job." That Sunday when everybody's packing up and you look around and all you see is smiles. That's my favorite part of it.
Hmm.
And just the general, walking the trails when it's going on and people laughing and cutting up and there's no negativity and there's no fighting and it's like a disconnect from the real world. You come here this little campground in Rose Point and it's a good time. So yeah, that's my favorite part.
Awesome.
The
All right,
least favorite.
now the hard one.
Yeah, the least favorite part is September. No, really, the least favorite part is, I mean, really nothing about it. The most, I don't know. I guess just the preparing for it, and bugging people about it and this and that, sponsors and whatnot, and that's the least favorite part. But it makes for a great event, so it's got to be done.
Yeah. All the hard work that nobody sees or
Right,
knows goes on behind the scenes. Like, yeah, I know what you're talking.
right,
Okay, so let's move on from East Coast Scale Challenge because they can't all be about that. You build some
right.
cool stuff. Let's talk about Scale RC trucks.
Okay, sounds good.
Uh, how many scale trucks have you built to this point?
All right, hold on.
Yeah, refer to those notes. Count
Yeah.
on your fingers, toes maybe. I don't know.
So I called Matt earlier, and I was talking to him about this and getting some insight. And so to date, it's a close number, but I'm thinking 50 to 60 is somewhere around where I'm at. Yeah. Anyway, and I know it's not less than that, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a big number, man. I know personally my number's not anywhere near that. So,
right,
um,
right.
how many trucks do you currently have in your collection of vehicles you've got going on? Like I see the three behind you. I know those are there, but
Right.
how many currently you got?
Oh man, I think I counted 12 right
Okay.
now that are all in different states of readiness. I think the Forerunner is the only one that is, in my mind, 100% done.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you want to say one,
No, you have to count all 12.
okay,
Yeah, they all count.
okay,
Uh,
okay, yeah.
um, so another one that for me would be on the harder side to do. What is your personal favorite in your collection? And can you show it off if you haven't already?
Um, so it's a toss up between the dually and this K10 right here.
Okay. Let's see
So
that one then.
yeah, there's a story behind this K10 too. So it's pretty basic right now. It's going under a rebuild, but it's my super class zero, like the sleeper class zero,
Yeah.
all that flex. But um, it started out. I don't know if you remember last year at ECSC, I had a Dragon truck. We called it a Dragon 10,
Okay.
and it had a bunch of weight on the front
Yeah,
and
the
low
red one.
power. Yep, the red one. That's that truck right now.
Okay.
So
Somewhere I have a video of that from like the middle of the night where you were
yeah,
like dragging somebody else around all over the place.
yeah. I drug. I think it was Doug. Yeah, Doug
Mhm.
Lease drug him around all over the place.
Yep.
But yeah, so that truck started. Uh, we went to Lima, Ohio. Actually, Matt and I did with John for RC four wheel drive down there, helping them promote RC four wheel drive and whatnot. They had it's like a kind of like a fair, a summer get together. Well, during that event, they had these trucks that were hooking up and playing tug of war, and it was awesome. And we all looked at each other and said, "Hey, we're doing these. We're going to 110 scale these trucks out here."
Hmm.
And so we made up rules, and we had a secret little Facebook page, and just banner back and forth all year long. And the plan was to debut them at ECSE, and I was going to drag John and Matt all over the place, which would have happened anyhow. So, but yeah, so that's where that truck came from, and and Matt ended up not finishing his, and John's is still on the workbench, and so I'm still waiting, defending champ.
Yeah. Where all the
Yeah.
best plans end up in a pile in the
Oh yeah,
corner by the
yeah,
workbench.
yep.
I
And
think I
I
have
mean,
three of those right now. Three really good ones too, man.
oh
Oh.
yeah, yep. So yeah, it's still waiting, John. If you're ready, I'm ready when you are.
All right. So are you primarily into crawling or do you also have like RC genres? Have you had RCs in other genres? Where do those lie?
Yeah, anything's scale. So I'm into the semis. I was into those pretty big. I just got rid of probably 10 of them
Okay.
a year ago. Because where I'm at, there's really no following, and I just, fell into hard times and needed the extra flow, and so I got rid of them. But still love them. Still like messing with them. And Matt's gonna get mad right now because I'm gonna show something.
All right, then we're gonna switch to your screen so you can show it off really well.
I gotta make sure. Oh man, hear all that crunching and good stuff.
Yeah, that's good. That means you're scratching things.
Yeah. So I'm doing a build right now for Matt, and yep, that's all I can show you because he's probably gonna watch this. And
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean any scale, any scale. I do like the semis, but I like the detail and the buggies and go fast. There's a place for it all, But I'm right now kind of stuck in the scale aspect, But
yeah, understandable. I definitely have been bit by the scale bug. I don't think quite as hard as you though. Your stuff is very, yeah, man. But anyway, let's actually talk about this. Kind of phases right into my next question. We're going to talk about that whole dollhouse thing. And so you tend to build more in that direction, like very, very scaled out. Why do you feel you have the drive to build in that direction?
Let's see. Well, my trucks, I want them to be as real in my eyes as I'd imagine them. So if I'm sitting there thinking about a build, I want it to be what I imagine and what I think it would look like going down the trail. I don't want it to be some crazy, high non-scale looking truck. That's not me. So I strive to make it, these ultimately, all class 0 trucks. Every truck I have right now will fit in class 0. So I don't know. It's just I like the detail work. I like the challenge of it. It's pretty hard most times. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it.
Where do you find the patience to do the finishing? So like I'm good with all of it up
Right.
until they're like all the little things. So I'm wonderful with building the truck. I can nail like paint, assembling all of the body pieces, custom body work, whatever you may have. And then like it gets to the end, you're putting on like every little touch or like detailing out paint stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Most of the time, I think my biggest struggle is like interiors. I'll do the bodies and spend a lot of time on that, and then the last thing I generally do is put an interior in, and that's kind of where I skimp at. So I've been kind of trying to focus more on that, and like with the Forerunner, I did a lot of detail work on that, and I think it turned out great. And then
and I noticed that like that was one of the things that I had picked up on for sure.
Right, and that's not me. If you see any of my builds, if you look on the outside, they're 10 footers, so they look good from 10 feet away. and on the dually too, I've been stuck on that build for quite a while now. And prior to talking to Mr. Comedy about the engine bay, and kind of getting those things hashed out, the fine detail and the fine stuff that maybe you wouldn't like pick at, eats at me. So I'll sit there and be like, I can't even bring that into the light of day because it's not, to my standard. So
yeah, well, and that's, I mean, everybody has their own piece of what goes on. For me, literally, I don't care about the tiny details to that extent. I mean, I'm sure one of these days I'm going to build a truck that I do. The closest I ever got was the Tri-Van, and that's far from perfectly accurate. It's cool. Like I genuinely love that truck. Like it is my favorite. I can't lie, but it is still not like right spot on scale accurate because I got ANC at the end, finished it. One of these days I'll do that, but for me, it's like this look. Everything has to have this
Yep.
really angry, like aggressive look,
Right.
and I think that's the only truck I own that doesn't have that.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get out of the norm, because for me, I'm kind of stuck in it's got to look like it just came off the showroom floor, stock, whether it be, sitting in a field, but it's still got to be stock. It can be rusted and crappy, but it kind of hurts me to put even these groundhogs on this Forerunner, the bigger tires on that, it kind of, I'm just like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. So yeah, I get it. The details kill it.
Yeah. I hate to ask you this. Slide back just a touch. You're almost out of camera. There we go. You've been on the edge and like I was like, oh, okay. I'm gonna ask.
Yeah,
So, all right,
yeah, you're good. Sorry,
you're
man.
good. No, it's no problem. I don't know if you can even see it, so it's no big deal.
Well, the square I see is about that big.
Right on. And so I mean, it makes it hard. And for people who haven't done something like this or don't do this or haven't done this yet or whatever, um, monitoring all of what goes on inside of that is like
Right.
incredibly difficult. People who don't know, for me, I have two full screens of stuff going on, and Ed has his phone, but he can only see himself. He's like 1 inch by 1 inch, if that.
Yeah.
So he's like it probably just looks like a blur. It would to me. I don't know. I'm blind.
Yeah.
So who are your influences in the scale crawling segment of our hobby? And if you were picking someone to have on the show, who would you pick and why? I want to ask that not only to you, Ed, but anybody in the comments. I would love to hear who you guys would think, who you think you'd like to see on this show. And I always try to do my best to track those down and see what I can do about getting them on. So,
Right. One of I have tons of influences in this hobby. There's so many great people. Like I said before, the camaraderie is just second to
yeah.
none. So I'll start by my first influence would be John Thornton. He's a pretty good guy. There was a time when I was ready to give it all up. That's actually how I met Matt. I was selling him my excuse me, my Trail Finder 2, and I was trading him for a globe liner, to me a globe liner. So, but yeah, so at that point I was ready to give scale up. That we had a local club that kind of disbanded, and there was a bunch of tiny truck drama, and I was over it.
Mm-hmm.
And John kind of talked me off the ledge. Kind of kept me where I was at, kept me grounded, and he's just always been there. I can confide in him on things, and he's probably my top influence. As for like building and just all around great guys, Matt Kett, he's a super good dude, super good builder. Great influence in the hobby. I try to make my builds to where if I was to take it to him, he'd be impressed by it. And same with Richard Lutz, part of my noob.
Yeah.
Same thing with him. He's a great influence. Scott Lampert, him and I have worked together quite a bit on, a couple projects, and probably more in the future. And his builds are second to none too, and he's a good influence. Seems like a good guy, always there, always there to answer questions, and positive, and never a negative word out of any of their mouths.
Yeah, and the other thing that's awesome about the three of them that you mentioned is very approachable.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And and they always have been. So if you have a question and you ask them, they're probably going to answer it. They're amazing.
Yeah. Yep. And so to pick who I would want on the show, that was pretty hard, because there's a lot of guys that I would like to see and like to see their stuff showcased. Well, guy comes into mind, and that's Doug Leese.
Yeah.
He's with GCM, man. He builds the craziest, like, small detail. He just, and if you knew the guy and look at him and just know his personality, you would be like, no way did he do that. And
Yeah,
it's just
he's awesome. So
Yeah, he's an animal, man.
I got to talk to him, I think, for the first time, like to really like lock down, talk, have a conversation last year at East Coast. Um, he was not the person I expected. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie. He was
yeah,
very, very like when you see the build quality and the way everything like is perfectly tied together and meticulously done. I wouldn't have pegged him if I'd have just met him on the street as a very meticulously done
yeah,
kind of person. He was very, very easy to talk to, very humble, very, I mean, all those things. And
yeah,
it you're right.
yeah,
You wouldn't picture him as the person who's
yeah,
all that little whatever, but he is, and he's amazing. So
yeah. Yeah, some Canadian concrete worker, that hard working, and he just every time I see him, man, he's going 100 miles an hour. He'll do
yep.
anything for you. So he's the face of the hobby. If you want to look at somebody that really represents what this is all about, Doug's it. So
Yeah. Awesome. Kind words, love it. I'll send him a message.
yeah, definitely
So
do.
uh what is your favorite build or truck out there currently floating around the interwebs there that is not your own? And I want to hear that in the comments too. I love hearing about this because oftentimes I hear things I didn't know about and I go check them all down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So I got a bunch. Um, my top build is Chris at GCM. He's got a custom motive Ford F-150. It's blue and silver, and is just awesome, man. He put it on I think first it was on maybe a 410 chassis, a GCM 410 chassis, and then he put it on C-Max chassis, and it's just out of control. The guy that custom motive, he made them, but there was a limited run. Um, Chris got one, part of my noob got one, and I was on the list to get one, and I missed out. And there was another guy, and then Andy Irwin, him and Hillbilly Mark Moore, they got one. Or no, I take that back. I think they bought part of my noobs. So okay, so yes, but Chris's build, man, is just killer, and I want it. And as for Hillbilly and Andy, the one they got from part of my noob, I believe that's where they got it from. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I've been trying to buy that thing for I don't know 3 years now. Since I knew he had it, I've been trying to get it from him, and it's not happening. So
Those two have quite a collection going on.
oh man,
Like the who's who
yeah,
of RC trucks. I
yeah.
don't know where
If you
they
want
keep
to
them
talk,
all. There's a ton of them.
hey, when I snap to this real quick, when I first got into the scale side, and I was doing a lot of Craigslist trading, trying to build parts and whatnot. That's how I
Yeah.
met Andy. And he's like, yeah, man, we can meet up. I think I had a drifter he wanted or something. I was trying to trade off for SCX 10 parts or whatnot. And I went to his house, man, and into his hobby room. And I was just like, no way. People do this. This is, and I remember digging through like a huge chest of SCX 10 parts, like thinking, man, this is crazy. So yeah. So if that,
And now there's one sitting like right next to your left shoulder.
yeah, there ain't no axial in here.
Oh, okay. My
Yeah,
bad.
no, you're good. But yeah, so that the build wise, and for anybody to be on, he does a lot of like vintage stuff, and he's kind of oddball things, and he'd be a guy to get on too. I don't know if he'd do it, but he definitely is a pretty good representative of the hobby, and has some cool builds.
Be a cool show and tell, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely, man. He's got some crazy things. uh, so then for my, let's see, yeah. So my all time favorite, we go back to Doug's K5, that TTC build he did last year. That's one of my favorites. And then John's mail truck. I don't know if you've seen that. Andy Lowry actually painted it. It's been a couple years ago. I think it's a Tamiya YJ body that's made into like a U.S. postal mail truck. It's pretty cool. So I got a bunch out there, man.
Yeah, as most of us do. And
Oh,
honestly, I don't think I've ever seen John's mail truck. I know the other two you're talking about.
yep.
Like, yeah, They deserve
Yeah, you
mention. No doubt.
definitely. John's got to post that up somewhere because it definitely needs recognition. It's a cool build for sure.
I feel like I never see him, like he's kind of like does this, something will pop up and nothing and
Yeah,
pop up and
yeah. We'll poke and pry at him to get him to post that up.
there you go. I want to see it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
okay, so let's talk a little bit about how you kind of consume the hobby. That's a weird way to say it, but I don't know any other way to say it. Do you spend a lot of time on forums? Spend a lot of time on YouTube? Spend a lot of time on social media? Why do you elect that piece of it? How are you kind of like, what media form are you using to enjoy the hobby when you're not driving your
Yeah,
truck?
right. I don't think I ever drive trucks. No, but um, back when before Photo Bucket ruined Tap Talk and all that good stuff and all the forums, and
Yeah.
that was primarily where I was at. That's where I learned everything, RCC and Skill Builders Guild. I still skim through Skill Builders Guild almost daily, but the level of awesomeness on there is just out of control, and I feel like some of my stuff ain't worthy. So, and I don't want to be
Like
I don't
none
want
of
to be
my stuff is worthy.
yeah, those guys, they just kill it. So, but I'm on there every day, checking it out. Facebook, I do a lot, kind of show my builds off on Mahoning County crawlers, and I really don't spread out too much further than that.
Yeah.
Than MCC, maybe on Gurus and every once in a while, but and then Instagram I kind of use as like a photo dump for myself.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I like, wow, that was a good picture. Let me put that up and kind of save it, so I don't end up erasing it and getting mad at myself. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I like your restraint in that aspect because I spend way too much time on Facebook and way too much time on Instagram.
right.
I wish I spent more time on forums. I would say I probably genuinely don't have the time to spend on the forums. It's like one of those things that when you get there and you're doing all the learning and like find something, like you can get lost and spend
Oh,
like two
absolutely.
hours. You can
Yeah.
click on one build thread and 2 hours later you don't even know that like lost 2 hours. So
Oh yeah, it's definitely immerse yourself into it, and that's what I find myself doing, finding a build that I'm, like, oh wow, this hasn't been updated in 8 months. Let me see where they're at, and then you just read through the entire thing again, and so yeah. But
nope.
that's what that's good for is the forums. You can do that. You can go back to them and see where they started and where it's at. Facebook kind of gets lost in the abyss.
Yep, it does. It gets lost in the shuffle, and you miss
Yep.
out there.
Yep.
Where do you see the scale crawling community heading coming years? What do you see on there?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's definitely growing, and I like where it's growing to. A lot of the manufacturers are kind of focused more on the scale aspect. Kind of class 0-ish. But
Yeah.
there's leaving opportunity for class 1, 2, and 3, obviously. But
Mhm.
the I see like G6 style events kind of being the thing, class 0 events kind of being the thing, kind of taming down everything, the competition side of it. That's just me though.
Yeah, I'd say that I don't know about the necessarily the taming down of competition. I think there's always going to be competition. I
Mhm.
do think though that you're gonna find the masses kind of congregate more toward um G6 ish stuff, GCM
Right.
scale adventure type activity,
Oh yeah.
so on and so forth. It just it appeals more. It appeals to more people. There are still
Right.
competitive people who are not going to let competition die.
Oh no, absolutely not.
But
Yeah.
that to appeal to the masses, I see those other ones drawing more people for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's like ECSE. The competition side of it is great, but then you also want to go back to kind of having a relaxing weekend, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
hit a trail. So it could go both ways, and regardless of which way it goes, I'll be here.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so let's have the sponsorship conversation. Do you currently have any? Why did you choose those people to represent, and what's going on with that?
Okay. Currently, I'm sponsored by RC Four Wheel Drive. I've been a driver with them since late 2014, early 2015, I believe.
Okay.
And that's the only sponsor I have. I've had some offers here and there, and I just don't think. I mean, they treat me good, and I do what I have to for them, and it's fun to be with them, and they've I don't think having tons of sponsors is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I just always bring that up. There's lots of different views of that in the hobby and how that affects the hobby, so
Right.
on and so forth. So, I just feel like it's one of those topics that people get into. I've had new guys who are like, "I need a sponsor," and I'm
Oh
like, "Really? Like, just
yeah.
enjoy it." Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
not that sponsorship's bad. I have sponsors; they're awesome. I enjoy each and every one of them.
Yep.
However, sponsorship comes with responsibilities,
Oh yeah.
expectations, and things you have to live up to. And I don't think that
Yep.
people who are newer in our hobby realize or understand that when they see this person sponsored, so and so is sponsored. So
Yep. Yep. And absolutely, and I'll stand behind their products, 100%.
yeah,
But and some guys, you get them guys bashing stuff, and it's hard to not. It's hard to hold your tongue sometimes, But
sure is.
as a representative, you got to, and it's worth it. They, like I said, they treat me well, and I'm fortunate enough to be on their team, and
Yeah.
it's a good team to be on. So yeah.
Yep, yep. All right, man. We're kind of narrowing it down to the end here. What should we expect to see next coming from you? As I ask you right before you take a drink. Super nice.
Yeah, sorry. No, you're good. I don't know. I got a lot of projects on the bench right now. One thing I'm super excited about is Matt and I. We kind of go back and forth on builds here and there. Kind of bounce ideas off each other, and we get inspiration. And I've been working on this for a while, and it's kind of been in the back of my head. But I'll give you a little teaser. I don't know if
All
you
right,
can see.
hold on. We're going to the big. There it is.
Yeah,
That was a giant tire.
it is a very giant tire, but it's a monster truck tire. All right. So if you can grab this, I don't know, kind of in the build stage here,
Yeah.
but that's RC four wheel drive my bad. RC four wheel drive black wheel axle
Yeah.
with monster truck tires and these super awesome shocks. It'll be
Yeah.
pretty scale, and leaf springs. So
Nice.
I don't know. There's quite a bit of big following for monster trucks, RC wise, but I noticed there wasn't really a scale following for it, like true to scale. So this truck I'm building is it's called a stage 1 monster truck,
Okay.
and that's where I'm going on that. And it's going to be a good time, and there's a lot of good people involved in it, and yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of scale guys posting up this winter about monster trucks.
Yeah, man.
Whether they're like super competitive, like
Mm-hmm.
fully decked out trucks, or they're building scale stuff or whatever. But over the past year, I'd say I've noticed like it's kind of rising back up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and um, Mike's RC World. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
you had him on.
Yeah, Mike Lohman. Mike Lohman.
Yeah,
If you don't
man,
know Mike's RC World, go check out Mike's RC World, because
crazy.
as soon as you see the pictures that he has posted and
Yeah.
his collection, I
Mm-hmm.
would say that Mike's collection rivals anybody I have ever seen's collection. It might be
Yeah,
better. It's probably the best one I've ever seen.
absolutely.
And that's talking about Mike Kirby too, who has all the old vintage, like numerous. But Mike Lohman's is like in glass cases and everything. I think he dusts them every day. Like they're
dude,
pristine.
toothbrush every day, cleaning everything up.
He's a very
But no,
detail-oriented
yeah,
guy for sure.
and all right though. He's got it figured out. But yeah, he's been posting up a lot about monster trucks, and I know I seen a post the other day about him posting. He showed a picture of him when he was just a young kid, and he had a clodbuster sitting there, man. And that, and all these monster truck posts are just about the time that I'm really getting moving on this build, and it's just like, yeah, it's inspiration, so yeah,
Yep.
that's what's coming. BCSE, getting that going and making everybody happy there, and having a good time. So yeah.
All right. Well, we're kind of down near to the end here, and I guess my last question is there anything I missed? Anything you need to add? Anything kind of hanging out there that needs mentioning?
I don't think so, man. I think pretty much covered it all,
All
Hope
right.
so.
Then I'm going to let you go metaphorically because you can stay, but I'm gonna let you go and kind of end the show out here and talk to the viewers and let them know what's coming in the future.
Absolutely, man. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for being on, and I'm
Yep.
gonna end things up and go from there.
All right, man. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. All right, guys. So that concludes another Live at 9:45. I thank you for tuning in, and if you are staying till this point, congrats and thank you very much. I genuinely appreciate it. A couple things, quick things. One, if you haven't subscribed, please do hit that alert bell, get all of those notifications that need to go into what's going on, and then you'll know what's happening in the future whenever I have something being posted. Additionally, I have a guest lined up for next week. Actually, it's like a dual guest, unless anything falls through. And then the following week will not be live again. I have a amazing guest lined up that I will pre-record the interview for, very much for the same reason that I did for Ed. They work in shifts that just don't match up with Live at 9:45, but that definitely shouldn't disclude them from what's going on because they're awesome people doing awesome things in our hobby, and that's what I'm after. So without further ado, I'm going to end the show. Please leave a comment, and I want to try one more new thing this week, and if anybody is watching till this stage, I want to try like a question of the week. So ask your questions up in the comment. I will try to answer it of next week's live feed. It's just something I see all the time, and I thought it might be fun, so we'll give it a shot. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for checking it out. And if it wasn't for all of you tuning in every week, it would just be me talking to a camera in my basement, and no one wants to see that. So, thank you very much.